Good morning. How are we? Right, we are going to go through a Bodybuilders breakfast. My breakfast at current. This is a non-training day meal one for me. So, food sources in this meal. We've got chicken breast. We've got whole eggs. Whey Isolate. Some oats. Coconut oil, tomatoes, and some spinach. And that is going to make this first meal. So, we'll start with the chicken. Start with the chicken and get the veg cooking first. So, I'm going to put the pan on because that's how I'm going to do the veg and egg, and we'll get the chicken, which is one of two protein sources for this meal. If you don't have a pair of meat scissors, I definitely recommend getting some. So much easier than faffing about with a knife and a chopping board when it comes to preparing meat, as long as you're keeping things nice and clean. So that's 160 grams worth there. We only need 120. Some would say I've done this before. And we'll cut that up into the air fryer. So I am very big on whole food and quality, as we should. Now, it doesn't mean that every piece of food that you have needs to be organic or the most expensive or anything like that. Usually, and especially in times past, I couldn't afford the organic, the more expensive bits. So don't ever feel as though it has to be grass-fed this, grass-fed that, if you can't afford that. It isn't the end of the world. It isn't the end of the world at all. But as always, quality is important for sure. All right. So we've got 120 grams of chicken breast, and then we'll put some tin foil over this and pop it in the fridge for later usage. We've got the pan going, and now we'll crack on with our veg. So we'll go with our tomatoes first. It's silly me. Not yet. We actually want a little bit of coconut oil in this meal. Why coconut oil? It's a fat source that I like. It's a saturated fat, but it is a healthy fat. MCT oil digests really nicely, and coconut oil with eggs, frying your eggs in, or scrambling your eggs, whatever you choose to do, is a game changer. It's very nice. This is the coconut oil I use. The only thing with coconut oil is that it is bloody expensive. I'm just going to put the kettle on for the oats. We'll get these tomatoes just sliced into halves. Get that coconut oil all around the pan. Put them down like that. So this is the food setup post show. I put together my own food kind of sources in terms of what I want to eat, rather than Dan kind of put a meal plan together or something for me. He's just kind of giving me my macros that he wants me at. 50 grams of spinach in there as well. Give me my macros, and then the way I set up my nutrition is pretty similar to how he would anyway. So not a huge amount of difference there. And now we want a bowl for the oats. Not a huge amount of calories in this meal in terms of like from carbohydrates as such. So I've actually only got 50 grams of oats here. I like to have a little bit more kind of in terms of carbs later on throughout the day. In the morning, at the minute, just not a huge amount of need or want for a lot of carb. I need to get that going. A little bit of a shimmy on here. Don't know what you can see in the camera there, but just frying off some tomatoes, wilting the spinach down. Why tomatoes? Literally because it's just some veg that we had in the fridge. I like them. Fried tomato with egg, lovely. Spinach, you're typically always going to want to go for your darker, leafier greens in terms of quality. Spinach digests perfectly, but spinach, kale, choy, green beans, any veg you like, really. Nothing's really off limits. This is just purely a preference thing. I'm just going to turn that down ever so slightly. Turn that heat down. Some water into the oats. That goes in there like that. And we'll just let that sit for a bit. Give it a little bit of a stir up. Eggs, we've got some free range organic eggs. Look at the size of that compared to, where are they? Oh, it's in there. That's what my testicles are like. Let me just give that a little bit of a pop that in there. Do not be scared of whole eggs. Christ. Do not be scared of the yolk. Do not be scared of the cholesterol. Unless you're in a phase where you're watching caloric intake and you don't have the room for the fats in that, then got something to be worried about. Again, with eggs, it doesn't always need to be like, you see a lot of people post like the Burford Browns and the really plush eggs, and those are fucking expensive. So if you can afford them, great. If you can't, just get standard eggs, man. But if you are consuming the yolks, then I would always suggest try and get a little bit better quality. because typically the diet of the bird, of the chicken, is going to have been a little bit more higher quality, which is what we want, especially if you're wanting a good kind of profile. Just give that a little bit of a scramble up on there. That can sit for a minute. We'll take that off the heat. Just pop that around there. Voila. The oats are here. We are going to give these a little bit of loving in the air fryer, just for a minute, just to make them a little bit less watery, is what we're going to do. What we do need for this is some black pepper, some ground cinnamon, and that's here, and the condimentes. So in this, it's from a condiment standpoint, we'll say, or the additions: 50% less sugar and salt, Heinz ketchup, some black pepper, both for the eggs. Got some ground sweet cinnamon for the oats, and some pink Himalayan salt, ready to roll. The chicken is almost done. It's not going to need 4 minutes. It's just going to give another 2 there. So what we will do is plate up the eggs. All I'll do with this meal when I look to push numbers up is increase the oats, and I'll add some sourdough to this as well, which will be very nice. So we've got that there. We also need for this. So I'll switch between sauerkraut or kimchi. We've actually got this Biona organic sauerkraut, which all things goodness for the gut, for the microbiome, for the good poos. And this is something that has kind of, like, in recent times anyway, picked up a lot of hype, a lot of trend. Listen, if you don't like the taste of kimchi or sauerkraut, don't eat it. It isn't a necessity. Right, don't force yourself to get it down. But I absolutely love it. So kimchi or sauerkraut, 20 grams in this meal. And then that just gets a little bit of a mush up around there. We've got our chicken ready to roll. Again, I very rarely put seasoning or anything on my chicken. I just don't. Never have. If I do, it will just be like salt and pepper, if you can call that seasoning. So a little bit of black pepper on here for that digestion. We'll do our usual salt, which for me is 2 grams. So I'm going to do a gram on here and a gram in my oats. And then we've got 30 grams of Whey Isolate. Now, when it comes to protein powders, I'm going to be the first to say, as long as it digests well, it doesn't matter if you're using an isolate or you are using a blend, whatever it may be. Most people are not going to want to or be in a position to afford an isolate every single month. It's very much like if you can, great. If you can't, it's not the end of the world. So I have an isolate and a blend, and I actually have a Velocitol whey as well from Strom that I'll use now and again. And also, I also have a vegan protein powder that I'll flutter between, as that digests really well, sits really well with me, and it also gives me a little bit of variety with my protein sources. So it's never an issue. But yeah, I've got 30 grams of whey isolate in this meal. Some people like to mix it into a paste, into a sludge. Sometimes I do that. This morning I can't be bothered, so I'm mixing it into the oats. So just one thing to bear in mind with your isolates specifically is that if you add it to anything relatively dry in terms of a mixture, it's going to increase the what's the word? I was going to say decrease the viscosity of it. It's just going to make it a little bit more watery. Like once these oats, when they come out of the air fryer, were like pretty solid. Now I've added that whey isolate and mixed it in. They've gone to like a pretty nice runny texture. This is the Mutant ISO Surge, which is one of my favourites in terms of ISOs that I've had anyway. So that in there. This is the chocolate fudge brownie, which you can get from Engineered, code Billy10. Save some spondoolies. And we also need a little bit of Tommy K on there. And that is us ready to... No, it's not. We've also got 75 grams of some dark pitted sweet cherries, which are unbelievable. Is there anything fancy about them? Nope. Other than they're a fruit, and I very much enjoy them. So let's give this one final mix up, and we'll show you what we're rocking with. Cherries into the warm oats, start to defrost. And this is meal number 1. We'll turn that round. We'll show you what we're rocking with. I've got 1 whole egg, 120 grams of chicken, some tomatoes, 3 cherry tomatoes, 50 grams of spinach, 20 grams of sauerkraut, salt and pepper on there, and some red sauce, 50 grams of oats, 30 grams of whey isolate, 75 grams of cherries, another gram of salt in there, and some ground sweet cinnamon. And that is us ready to roll. So that's meal number 1. Let me get this down, and I hope you enjoyed.